What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to The Climb. I am your host, XRAY, joining once again Mr. Venom. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Welcome.
I ate and I'm ready to go.
He's ready to go. He's only 2 hours late. It's okay. Meal prep is very important. But our special guest this week is the mastermind in the jungle, the man that has a playoffs curse and has never won a playoff series. The man, the myth, not quite a legend yet, Sulpan.
What's up, guys? Well, if jinxes can go both ways, I hope that one does. And worked out in my favor this year.
Yeah, let's hope that works out in the series too, with the jinx. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get to Sulpan. You've been on the climb before, but let's reacquaint ourselves. When did you remind me when you officially joined Summit? I think it was season 4 of La Liga, correct, or something like that.
Yeah. If you want to get really technical,
Oh yeah,
I'm the inventor of Fight Club Fridays, which bled into creating La Liga. Which
yeah, that's right.
I left Boise before La Liga formed, I think. But when I came back, I was literally just playing solo queue, and I ran into Eldaho.
Okay.
And I asked him, "Are you Woojin?" And he said, "No. Who the hell are you?" And he's like, "Damn, Woojin, who is this guy?" Woojin told him, and then he invited me to Summit after our match, which we won.
Nice. And yeah, so you're pretty. I would say you're at this point a veteran of Summit and La Liga. What has been your favorite season so far for Summit?
Probably the OG La Liga. Bring it back. Was a really, really fun season. Obviously didn't go the way I would have liked, but it was still
sure.
it was snake draft, the way it should be.
Snake. Honestly, I do miss snake drafts. It was always exciting when you have this I think Rob one season drafted
Hallows Eve.
No, not Hallows Eve. It was someone else. Oh, Brady the hero. He was like a silver top laner, and everyone was just hyping up Brady because he was he's like another version of Brissy because everyone just
nice.
hype like
A
Brady.
lesser version of Brissy.
Less
Brissy's
yes.
Brissy's
Debatable.
a god. Brissy's my king. Throwing the Sultan.
Fair enough. But let's head on into the games for this week. Week 4 is officially over, ended 2.5 hours ago. So we're recording this fresh. So let's move on into the first series, SMD versus the Academy. The Academy taking the dub 2-0 real quick on SMD. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it was just a draft gap. I think the Academy just had really good teams. First game, they picked 4 Dash champions, and then we picked Poppy. So they literally could not kill the carries because I just sat on mid 2 easy and Strand. So Nico could just never kill them. So it just felt like it was just a free game. And then game 2, it was just one-sided. I was 9-1. That was just the one series I had that was good, and I had to hype myself up real quick. Whoop whoop. So, but yeah, honestly, I think for SMD, I would like them to play more to their more to their style because we've seen them have a lot of success on the split pushing style comps. So hopefully they can find a way to implement that more and perform better on it. I don't know what to say much about the Academy without being too biased. So
you can be biased.
I don't know if we can be first place by the end of regular season, but gosh darn it, we're going to finals, baby. That's how I feel right now. So, I definitely think the academy is looking like a very strong team. Mid 2 Easy is playing out of his mind. I mean, PPP and Strand, honestly, a very underrated bot lane right now. I think they're playing exceptionally well. And then and Sunny Blues, he's just kind of in the top lane. And then I'm useless. Don't worry about me. So, but yeah, Sulpan, let's hear your thoughts on the series.
Sure. So first, this one was exciting for me because there are 5 teams and 5 evil clones in Summit. And I'll explain. So Savage Mongoose Dynasty and the Academy are structurally very, very similar. You just look at like rank distribution for these 2 teams.
Okay.
And the same can be said about the Krusty Trap and Roblins Goblins, Elend's Entourage and Beaver Brigade, Gawr's Glass and the Bendables, and then that kind of leaves Crayola consumers and Fraud Watch, so you can decide who the evil clone is there. But for each of these teams, it's really interesting seeing them match up. I think when you end up losing to the other half of yourself, it feels pretty bad. So it'd be interesting to see how Savage Mongoose Dynasty is going to bounce back from this. The big thing here for me was I kind of agree that was a bit of a draft issue. It really felt like Savage Mongoose Dynasty relies really hard on Seraphine to augment their entire top side, and when that's gone, it doesn't feel like they have really good options to fall back on, because they were playing double enchanter bots like every series up into this one. So I want to see them like try and find something else that they can put their bot in that's still the utility. I think there's options like Ash, Sivers, Ziggs, just like the wave clearers, or someone who can just provide that XRAY engage option. But it feels like right now they're just missing that. What do we do now that Seraphine is banned? They just feel very lost.
For sure.
For the Academy, genuinely, I underrated them at the start. They're just continuing to surprise me. They have 3 role swaps this season on their team, and it's working out. So if there's ever a season for Proton to make Moneyball jokes, this is the one. I think there's 3 really interesting champ pools because of the lane swaps between Sunny. Obviously, Proton's got the crazy champion pool. And XRAY, you haven't pulled out anything crazy, but I'm just waiting for like Urgot Jungle to for some reason be on the table.
Dude, wait, hang on. That might, hang on, I might cook up something now. You
We'll see.
Ideas.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your top champs to show up in jungle.
The thing is my top champions aren't super good in the jungle. Like Urgot's not very good. I guess the only one that would be possible is like Horn.
You gotta give Garen a try, man. I'm telling you.
Maokai.
Yeah.
I
mean, I've played Maokai.
just to finish wrapping up.
Yeah.
I think that the interesting test for your team is going to be if Proton, Plat Player, and Strand can make room for themselves to breathe against GKC's bot lane, because they are probably one of the strongest in-lane bot lanes we have in the league. And so if they can stand up to that, I think that they can overcome anything.
Yeah. All right, Venom, let's hear your thoughts on the teams.
Yeah. I think the Academy's top 4. I think probably top 3 most likely. I'm trying to think of a 4th team that would even compete with them. I think SMD would have been somewhere up there, but obviously after this series they are not.
I would make a pretty good argument for GKC right now. I think that they're
GKC's hot, but I don't know. GKC, we'll see, because I feel like Crayola consumers kind of was on a down tilt, but I'll get to that later. I think the Academy's top 3. I think Noah PPP has more than exceeded expectations. I know he's a good player. He's building somewhat correctly now. I know he hates that joke, but he's building correctly, and he is playing off-meta supports and winning lanes. The lane against Roblins Goblins is rough, but that's Dean and Rob. You're not going to win that lane. I'm sorry to every other bot lane in Summit. You're not going to win that lane straight up 2v2 unless Dean and Rob go blind, maybe break their hand. But Strand and PPP have played well over expectations. I think Strand's a solid player. Mid 2 Easy, I'd say he's playing to expectation. He is one of the higher ranked mid laners. He's playing as he should. He's winning lane against opponents that are as good or worse than him. XRAY's, what could I say? He's so good in the jungle. I say number one jungler.
No, don't you dare say that. I am...
No, I think XRAY's been playing. Like, you're augmenting the team like you should. Like, you're not the carry of this team. You have mid to easy strands playing well. Like you don't need to carry the team. You're playing to your champ pool, you're supporting your team, and you're getting them leads, which is all you really need to do. And then I'm not gonna go in on Sonny, but he's had some rough weeks.
I mean,
The one was rough last week. This week it wasn't. I'm looking
yeah,
at the
I mean,
scoreboard 1 and 2, but last week it was. Sonny, I love you, but that last week was bad.
I so
But
I,
he's
I w-
playing okay.
yeah,
Like,
I will defend Sonny a little bit. I mean, how do I say this in the nicest way possible?
Oh.
I think Sonny is. I appreciate him like wanting to learn top lane, but I don't think top lane is his lane. But I think so far he's done well enough to win a series, but I think eventually we're going to need to like find
put him on a
his
tank.
like champ pool and stuff like that. So
Maokai, Ornn.
he will definitely not be pulling out.
He's a carry player. There's
He's
no way.
He's a carry player. He is not.
Well, it
pulling
depends
out
if you
any
want
of
to
these.
win Summit or if you want to have fun.
That's also true, but
I'll go quick on Savage Mongoose Dynasty.
oh, yeah,
I think they're still a pretty good team. Like I'd still put them in that like maybe fifth or sixth place. Like they're still pretty solid. Shrubby and Colin, looks like Colin got 2 bans, both the Bard and the Seraphine's for both of them, but double bot lane bans is kind of rough for them. I think they could figure it out. They both put in the time. I think Colin will expand his champ pool. Nico, it's tough playing against mid too easy. Like when mid two, I'm looking at this. He played Orianna. That's a good Orianna player. Sounds awful to play against. Just and then it was Corky versus Karma. I think Nico will be fine. I still think he's really important to that team. Casey, so much dog. Doesn't look like he did that bad. Like, but if he's playing Kha'Zix, you need to get ahead. I feel like you can't go 4-4 on Kha'Zix and expect to win unless the rest of your team is bulldozing, which brings me to my next person.
Didn't happen.
Ribbon player on Fiora and Kale. I didn't get to watch the lane, but Fiora versus Poppy sounds bad, but I think they'll bring it back. I think they had a rough series. They'll figure it out. Like I still think that they'll definitely make playoffs. I think they'll be 5 or 6. Is kind of where they're settling, but
interesting.
they'll be fine.
I'm thinking
maybe 7.
I'm thinking 7th right now for SMD.
But I love Colin. Colin has the spirit. He'll bring them up.
Yeah, honestly, I think at the end of the day, I think SMD. I think a couple of their players are definitely underperforming right now. I'd like to see them. Those players, I won't name names. Kind of play a little bit better. I mean, it definitely sucks when you're planning to have that Seraphine Bard like combo every game, and then you get double banned. It sucks, but hopefully those players can improve and they will win or help win the game. But let's move on to series number 2, GKC versus Crayola Consumers. I mean, I have nothing really much to say about the series. I just think this was actually a really close series. Really well played by both teams. Honestly, GKC, I think I just gotta shout out Neversaw. Just the brain behind GKC. I was watching her point of view of this, and like her comms are just so crazy. I also want to take note of Game 3. I love how Gawr was whispering in comms. He was like, "Hey, Prissy, I'm coming top."
It augmented the experience for sure. It was
definitely
good.
It definitely was like that. This is peak content that I was wanting for GKC. So I definitely think GKC though is a team to watch out for, sitting in tied for 3rd right now, sitting at 8 points, tied with Elend's Entourage. So hopefully they can keep up their win streak. And then Crayola Consumers, I mean, honestly, right now, I think there's a couple underperformers on Crayola consumers. I mean, Owen has been playing to his standard. I honestly think like he's playing well. It's just I think Odysseus and the bot lane Red Ranger I think are underperforming right now. So hopefully within the next coming weeks they can perform to those standards that we have seen them play, and hopefully bring out a couple wins. I mean, right now they're sitting in tied for 6 at 5 points. I'm looking at the fine print, but yeah, hopefully they can come back, but we will see. Venom, let's hear your thoughts on the series.
Yeah, it was a pretty good series. I think it never saw the first game. Never saw admitted that she tried the TF pick and didn't think it worked well. I think Charles I don't think he had a bad series. Game 3 was a little rough, and he didn't really like pop off like he usually does. But he had solid scores against somebody who's I think never saw peak 600 LP GM.
Yeah, I think
so it's like he's not expected to win that matchup.
Yeah, I think it's like playing against mid too easy right now. Like you're not expecting the enemy laner to win against mid too easy.
Yeah. And Charles or Odysseus had 2 back-to-back weeks he played mid too easy than never saw.
Right.
And that was their 2 losses where it's like, okay, one of their stronger solo lanes kind of playing against the best player on both teams. But I think it was a close series. I think the game 3 draft, I don't know how good Smolder top is. I'd like to see Owen on a more aggressive champion top. It's against Ornn, so we can't do as much, but I didn't feel like the Smolder top. I know it was a takeaway from Neversaw, but at that point you might as well give Neversaw Smolder and put Owen on a champ that he's comfortable with and is gonna like beat, or maybe not beat Ornn, but at least be very relevant.
Yeah, I actually asked Owen what his thought into Smolder is, and he said it's fine into Tates, and if the game is stable enough post 20, he will win 1v9. So that's what Owen said, and then we kind of had a little discussion, and honestly I think it's a valid argument, so I'm not going to discredit it.
Nope, that makes sense. Yeah, see, like I said, I don't know enough about Smolder top, but I think they just fell behind game 3 and then Kassadin. Neversaw popped off on Kassadin. Red didn't play his greatest, but looking at the stat lines and from memory, he didn't play bad. He went 8-2-18 on Swing game 1, 6-7 MF. Like, the Swing game 3 was kind of rough, but kind of the whole map for them game 3 was rough. Like, My Hot Daddy went 0-5. Odysseus went 7-9, which isn't terrible, but bot lane went combined 1-7 and 4. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win against Heiko if you do that. And I know I love to shit talk Heiko, but he played relatively well because he didn't bring that garbage Senna back.
Yeah, didn't he play? I think he played Vayne game 2, right? I think.
His Vayne's good.
Yeah.
He plays very aggressive and he knows when to find spots. But I think Heiko played well. I've said it before. He needs to play aggressive champions. He cannot be stuck on Senna.
Yeah, for sure. And Sulpan, let's hear your thoughts on the teams shaping up.
Yeah, I'll start with GKC. So it really feels like Neversaw is like stepping into that role of like being the GM max bid player. They're looking better and better this week. I think she played a really good series. And then their whole team has very clearly designated carries in mid and bot. And so as long as Gawr can continue to like play this facilitator role of just getting these 2 lanes ahead, and Brissy can just hold it down top lane for as long as he can, they're a hard team to beat. So I think the other thing is I'm generally impressed with their draft prep. When I watch Summit games, I'm looking at like the drafts for each teams, and I feel like every single time I see a GKC draft, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have that over whatever the other team picked. A big thing for me with this team is that it really feels like Neversaw is so smart and says, hey guys, we shouldn't fight here. And then the entire team's like, but what if we did though? And then they go in, and then either something really good happens, like Heiko popping off on Vayne, or something really bad happens and everyone dies, and then they're down, 2k gold, plus tempo. So I feel like everyone on that team needs to drop ego and listen to Never Saw a little bit more. And they can be a top team. Never?
Never.
No one on that team has an ego.
No, of course not. For Crayola consumers, this team is the most baffling to me so far. They've got the winning formula of last season. Owen top, really good mid laner. They upgraded their jungler and ADC. And it just feels like Owen and Red Ranger are feeling like the pain of their breakups. Red Ranger doesn't have Ultras anymore to help him through the lane, and Owen no longer has Nico to do whatever it is that those two do best, and bring like just this crazy soloing kill squad to every single part of the map with like double TP plays or just literally sprinting into a lane. So I'm not sure what they need exactly. They still have some strengths. My Hot Daddy sprinting in on Rammus is like impossible to stop, and it feels like they find really good fights at really inopportune times for their enemies. But overall, they just seem like a little bit prone to tilting, and especially prone to tilting in draft. So yeah, I mean, I think they can still be a good team. It's just a question of like, why isn't this same winning formula working this season? Like, what needs to change?
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely feel that. I think both teams though shaping out to be really playoff contenders. GKC, like I said, sitting at that third place spot with 8 points. Crayola Consumers sitting at that sixth place spot with 5 points. So we'll see how those two teams shape out. Moving on to Sulpan series, Elend's Entourage versus Roblins Goblins. Like I said, this game finished 2 hours ago. So, yeah, I don't know how to really say this, but Elend's Entourage did not win. I was very sad. I thought this was going to a 3-game series. I think honestly, like both teams were looking very dangerous and hard to beat. Elend's Entourage, I think game 1 though, I think was extremely close. Like it came down to pretty much the last fight. It was anyone's game. Came down to the last fight. Roblins Goblins found a good fight, won it, and then just ran it down mid. But game 2 was not as fortunate for Elend's Entourage. It was kind of a one-sided favor, I would say. But I'm still thinking these two teams are the top 2 teams. Whether Elend's Entourage is first or Roblins Goblins is first, doesn't really matter. I think these two teams are going to be one of these two teams, if not both, are going to be in the finals, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, Roblins Goblins lock first place, sitting at 11 points now. 2-point difference from them in second place. So we will see how they shape out to be. And we're going to have Venom talk about the teams, actually, and then we'll have Sulpan go.
Okay, I'll talk about fraud. Sorry, Elend's Entourage. My bad. No, I think this was the battle of the 2 top teams. I didn't get to watch the series, but I
meal prep.
I was meal prepping as well as at the gym. But I think it looks like as expected in terms of the win conditions that Roblins Goblins pretty much always has, which is win bot lane or give Rob something that he can carry on and then augment around it. I think it's gonna be very hard to stop because Dean and Rob, or sorry, Big Dummy 69 and Rob aren't gonna lose a bot lane. I think they've played arguably the best bot lane, the second best bot lane, which is Silva and Garrett. I don't remember if they played Beaver, Brigade, and them and Barbecue Leon. I think they've played the highest ranked bot lanes so far, and they have crushed every single lane. I think they're solid number 1 team. I think Dean's both his experience and game knowledge as well as his champ pool is extremely hard to draft around as well as to play against because he seems to be where he's always needed, as well as vision. As for Elend's Entourage, I think they'll come back. I think playing against the number, like what now is undisputed the number 1 team so far. I think from what it looked like it was close. I think with Paul, with drafting, I think he can figure out what he thinks went wrong and kind of bot review it and figure it out. I think they're still second best team.
Mm-hmm.
As much as XRAY, I know you want to say the academy is fighting for second. I do not. I do not think you're fighting for second. I think you're I think you're third. I think you're a third place
okay.
team.
I'm not gonna disagree with you, but right now the standings say otherwise. I'm clearly second right now. So
Okay,
hey, Paul, how's it down there?
Paul's about to Maokai you into oblivion.
Yeah, I'm
watch
fully
out.
prepared for it. Don't worry.
I went 10-1 on Maokai. You don't want the smoke. No,
But,
but I think realistically, Elend's Entourage is the second best team. I think they could still contend with Rob's team. I think figure some strategies and draft stuff out. I don't think the drafts were bad necessarily. I just think they come up with a different way now that they've played them, and I think over the season they'll give them a good shot in the playoffs if they play in the finals.
Well, Sulpan, what are your thoughts? Let's hear them.
Well, for the series, I think you can argue one way or another if we like misdrafted, but I think it's certainly clear that we misexecuted the series. Game 1, I somehow ended up with 4 kills on Poppy early game, and then I took that lead that I had and I gave it right to Roblin. It was such a bad moment for me. I was just walking bot lane. I think Usurper had died and Array was running out, and I was just thinking to myself like, oh, I need to save the AD carry. And so I just dash in on Poppy, and I'm like, I have a 400 shutdown and no flash, and this is bad. And I died. So we gave Roblin a huge, massive spike there that game. And I think he did a really good job of taking that lead and just running over the game. Game 2, this was massive misexecution from us. We were taking like horrible fights. We were just like constantly running in and like using abilities in a way that let them set up immediately on us. I think like everyone on our team was making really uncharacteristic plays. So certainly got in our own heads, I think, about that game 1. But there's still a lot for us to take away from this series. I think it's a good time. Definite copium, but it's a good time in the season to lose. As we have plenty of time now to learn from this and actually do something about it, rather than having your first loss come in playoffs and then having no time to deal with it. So I mean, we have room to grow. I think Goblins absolutely also has room to grow. The big standout to me this series was actually Ryan's brand. We did not have a good answer for it, and I think he did a really good job. How do I put this? Ryan is a good mid laner. He wasn't a good top laner, and he's not a good jungler, but he can play the shit out of League of Legends when he is on a champion that is a carry. I swear to God, his Gwen walked out of top lane without any lead and would just take over the game because he's so mechanically proficient. So I don't think he like pathed correctly. I don't think he did a lot of things. I think he did a lot of things wrong in this series, but he's still coming out ahead because he's just so good mechanically. So I mean, it was impressive. I think he could be a much better jungler if he read the Excel spreadsheet that I sent to everyone who asked me about jungle this season. But I think that's all I really have for the series. Goblins looks like a top team. I think they're going to continue to be better, especially now that they've unmuted their comms. This is the first series, I believe, in which they've done that.
Wait, they did?
Yeah. And then, yeah, for us, I mean, hopefully we'll walk away from this learning something, and I hope we don't just go into the next week, change nothing and expect nothing to change.
Yeah, when Sulpan told me that they were deafening in their comms, I was like, what? There's no way this team is winning without comms. And...
I promised I'd talk about it, because we mentioned it on Solo or Bolo. So what I heard is that when they were playing practices, scrims, flexi, things like that, their higher elo players, Rob, Dean, and Brian, were making calls, and then everyone on the team was like, do or die, follow the call, and not really ever thinking about their own conditions. And so they were like, granted, like, you want the lower elo players to follow the higher elo players' call, but like not to like absolute perfection, like, oh well, I'm gonna sack 3 waves, 4 plates, I'm gonna come bot lane, yeah, I'm on the way. Like, you can't have them do that. They need to have some agency of them over themselves and be able to say, no, I need to do this or the game's fucked. So I think like they maybe have overcome that through their practice, and so they're a much scarier team now that they have the comms turned back on.
So I have one thing to say about Roblins Goblins real quick. Roblins Goblins is looking a lot like ZWD from Season 4 of La Liga.
How so? What?
So,
Is
okay.
it because they have Rob?
No, hear me
Yeah,
out.
like,
Hear me out.
they
Okay,
have a good bot lane?
yes, they have Rob. But think about it. You have Hollow Z in the bot lane, which is an upgrade. You have Big Dummy 69. Your mid laner is playing supportive champions in the Karma. Your jungler is
What ranks are the junglers of both those teams?
Yeah.
No offense to Gix. No offense. He won last
Gix.
season.
I honestly think you improve in your jungler as well. Like Ryan just like Sulpan has said, mechanically gifted, and then top lane. Top lane, I honestly think he got a better top laner. The guy just plays weak side all the game. I think like overall, this is just a copy and paste of ZWD, except it's just better.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't. That Gix played Fiddlesticks Sejuani every single game.
These are very different, different pools and styles for each game.
You have a diamond carry person that's a mid laner that's playing like Brand, Talia, Lilia, who's not playing tanks, and it's like you're not having it like.
No, he played Viego. Is
that a tank?
Played Viego?
Yeah, Gix played Viego.
Oh, Gix. I think talking about Ryan.
I thought you meant Ryan too. I was like, no, he does. It's a good team, but I don't see the comparisons because the mid laner is not playing Zillion, just playing like.
Okay,
Zillion.
I said supportive champions. He doesn't have to play Zillion.
But Asuna played Yone already. He's played like Yone and other. Champs.
Yeah, and TF was a champion for Nilik.
Bro, you're reaching.
Go next slide.
I think
Next,
I'm saying something smart, but you guys aren't listening. But we'll move on to the next series. The Bendables versus Beaver Brigade. And this is going to be our special segment. The series did not get streamed, so I asked Mr. Tubby, Lord Tubbyton, to give me a summary of the series, and
better be word for word. I know you read it to me already.
I am now going to read this word for word from Tubby. Game 1. By the way, this is a Tubby summary, so this is going to be not biased at all.
Oh, I love that last line.
And I quote, Game 1. So beginning of the match was chill. Paris got first blood on World Soup when my boy got ganked by Xin Xiao. 1-for-1 trade, period, with a T. Bot lane was pumping purses until we ran out of mana. There were some Herald plays from Thim's team, like, okay, so apparently they don't know how to drift their Herald car correctly because they were running into walls. There were some good plays here from both teams, however, what led us to winning the game was one was macro. We macro them so hard that they lost by Thim's team prioritizing getting drag while Pros is ending the game. Girl, let's look at the map. Let's move on to game 2. Second game went kind of hard for Thim's team, so they were just cheese pushing, which allowed them to get ahead. There was a team fight at drag that was in our favor, but we lost it. World Soup kind of popped off and tugged on our wings in that game. We also learned the amount of pressure Dunk does when he gets on Aatrox. Chile. We needed prayers. Rip overall. They won from pressure and getting Baron. Good for them. Game 3, beginning of the third match, we got first blood on Ari by luck, which meant she ran into the bush, and we were already there. Bot lane was a fiesta because we kept killing their support. I mean, like, it's hard. Top lane was more favored toward Dunk, but later favored more towards us. Having Murph be fed on Vayne truly helped in team fights. With my cute share shields, we were able to snatch Thimmy's team. Also, their support tried talking to me at game 3, but I don't know him, and I still don't know him after the series. Like, that's it.
Perfect.
So, thank you for the insight, Mr. Tubby, for the summary.
Tubby's my goat.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't even want to share my thoughts on the team, so I'm just going to let you guys do it. So, let's start with Venom. Let's start with you.
I am a staunch defender of the Bendables. I know everybody thought Fraud Watch was going to beat the Bendables. X-Ray, I'm looking at you.
I will
I
stand
told
by that truth.
I told Pi I trust in the Pi process, and they've won 2 straight series. I think their team has solid players. I think Pi has a lot of game knowledge and is very good at the game and can kind of help his team achieve higher like wins and stuff. I think people underestimate the Pi difference. I think Pi his willingness to help his team and teach his team how to get better or what they need to improve on, as well as molding his champion pool, makes the Bendables a very good team. I wouldn't put him in like that top 3 or 4 kind of echelon yet.
Mm.
I'd put him probably around 5, 6, 7. But I think they have a lot of room to grow. Because yeah, I think they have a lot of room to grow. Beaver Brigade, Dunk's good at the game. Their bot lane is underperforming, I think, compared to what everyone expected.
I'm DMing them right now.
No, I think both individually, Thim. I know Thim. I've seen obviously last season they made the finals. Thim is a very good ADC. I won a tournament with Thim. This one of the summit tournaments with
for
Thim.
sure.
So I know his game knowledge and his skill is like he is very good at ADC. They just haven't been able to pull it together in the bot lane yet.
Mhm.
And I think that comes with time. I think by the playoffs, I'm hoping it gets better. Jason looks like I'm looking at the scoreboard. Jason had a good series.
Mhm.
He popped off on Zen game one that they even though they lost, but 8-2-5. His Elise went 2-1-7. So, like Jason's good. Like they have a lot of good players. World Soup is a little bit weaker in the mid, but they have 4 strong players. They just need to kind of figure out the macro and figure out the
Mhm.
dynamic bot lane, and I think they'll be a good team. I think they can make a run in the playoffs.
Do you guys think Beaver Brigade has too many voices just because of how like high their how rank like you have Asian Jason and them. I like in my mind those are two very loud people that we know of. Barbecue Leona and Dunk I'm not sure of. But like you said, those 4 people. Do you guys think they're like too many voices talking?
I wouldn't say so. I think they have a good team dynamic figured out. Um, I feel like for their entire team, I mean, I have like a few different theories as to like what's causing their problems. So you mentioned comms from like last season. We got to hear a lot of Asian Jason and Thimmy talking to each other. And one of the big things I remember from that season was Thimmy talking about how he was like frustrated that he had Tubbyton as support because Tubbyton could only play enchanters, which is fair frustration to have. Um, but the confusing thing from this season is I'm expecting now to see agrobot lanes. You got Barbecue Leona, the Leona player, the guy who's gonna play your engage support, and you put him on Renata. You're playing scaling lanes with Smolder. I'm just like, where's the Draven? Where's the hype? Get in there, get the Lucian, go nuts. But he's like playing these really passive lanes or putting his support on an enchanter, and then just not able to actually deliver like the bot lane dominance that you expect from a lane of this rank. Um, for their jungler, I think he's good. I think he doesn't like run into the same problems as Ryan because I think he's played the role a little bit more. But his knowledge right now is really outdated. One of the series they played, I watched him build or do Sunfire Rush on Zac, which is certainly not what you're supposed to do in this season. That item's kind of useless to build early on. And so I gave him some tips for that. But I mean, like, I think he just needs to get up to date on the new season, and he could be a strong player for this team. My Scrimbucks and I check say that Dunk is going to continue to deliver. He's like the strong shining beacon of this team right now, and I really don't expect to see Dunk ever come out of lane behind unless there's jungle intervention or some crazy counter pick or something. So I mean, like they have things going for them. I think that they can still come back. I imagine that this team is just one that's going to have a lot of internal turmoil, similar to last season. And until they get that sorted, they're just going to keep running into problems like this.
Yeah, for sure. I think overall, I think these 2 teams are still very good. It's just gonna come down to Can the Bendables continue to keep that streak alive? You said trust in the pipe. Was it pipe theory or whatever? What'd you call it?
I said trust in the pie process.
Oh, pipe process. So, can
I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the pie process this season, everyone always calls him like the coach, the guy will teach like every person on your team how to play the game. The thing this season is that the Bendables is playing a style that no one else is playing. Some is usually front to back team fights with like multiple tanks, or one forge with like a crazy high elo split pusher, Owen, or Kanga. And that's how teams typically win. The Bendables are playing a 0 tank, all carry like 1-3-1 style composition, and a lot of poke comps. And those are both much harder to execute on than those traditional like straight up we're just gonna fist fight you comps. But if they can figure this out, it's so hard to actually draft around an answer because it's something that no one in someone's really super familiar with. So I think that if they can figure this out, they're going to be a really hard team to beat. The question is, will they continue to scale, or will people they actually manage to actually find ways to beat the strategy? So we'll just have to wait and see.
I don't think anyone will find the strategy, so at least not this season. That's my prediction. But
strategy to beat the Bendables, or you don't think the Bendables will find the strategy?
The strategy to beat the Bendables strategy.
Oh, okay.
So, but let's move on to our last series, Fraud Watch versus the Krusty Trap. And honestly, this series was pretty fun to watch. Game 1, Fraud Watch got their first win. Points on the board. That's what we like to see, so congrats to them. But, I mean, it just kind of turned around, and the Krusty Trap was like, it's time. And Silva and Alturas turned it on once again. And there's two people I want to talk about, and it's Alturas and Silva. So, because that's pretty much the whole team of the Krusty Trap with OT Gator as a feature. When I'm looking at this team, I'm looking at, okay, who are the solo lanes they're playing against? Because if the solo lanes on the Krusty Trap can maintain and not like lose hard, I think Alturas and Silva can win the game. But it's going to be hard when you have, like, say the matchups like Owen into now I can't think of Krusty Trap's top laner.
Space Walrus.
Is it Space Walrus? Yeah. So Space Walrus.
Traps, yeah.
Yeah, Space Walrus. I mean, you're not really expecting him to win the lane, and you can't expect him to like just not lose the lane by like 100 CS or something like that, just due to the skill gap. But I think Alturas, he needs to be on some sort of playmaker like the Thresh, because game 1, I think the Milio, like, it doesn't do enough, I think, in my opinion. So I would rather him play, those engaged type champions, the Thresh, the something to enable Silva to help him go in and make a play happen. And then Silva, I think Silva's just playing his game to the best of his ability, so I can't really say much about Silva. I am kind of dogging on my boy Alturas, but I think he looks the best on those like sort of engaged type champions that make plays happen around the map. So, Paul, let's hear your thoughts on the series.
Yeah. So I guess for the Krusty Trap, this was like a big week for them. I do think they're towards the bottom of the standings, but I do think that they can still find wins against better teams.
They are 9th right now with 3 points. So
I mean, like for like the rest of the season as well. I don't think they're gonna move much further than this, but I do expect this team to play spoiler to some of their team's seeding or playoffs run. I think that like finding their first win is huge for them, because it just means that, like, okay, we found something that we can win on. How can we expand from this? When you win all your games, and you don't learn a lot, and when you lose all your games, you're also not learning a lot, because you're never really finding what works, and that's not a whole lot of fun, and so it's just like hard to stay motivated. Mm-hmm. So them getting this 3-game series, finally finding their first win, is big for them. for Fraud Watch, I think that they got their first win to a bit of Red Hot's coach diff. It looks like he managed to bring some like cohesion to their drafting plans, so I think they looked a lot better this series as a result of that. And like I think people are wrong about Fraud Watch. This was like this and the series against Bendables were two series that people said that Fraud Watch can win. This isn't the series that Fraud Watch can win. It doesn't matter where they are in the standings or their perceived power ranking or however strong the team is. What will make a team beatable by Fraud Watch is vibes. Fraud Watch is a team that operates entirely on vibes.
Okay.
So if you are a team that has negative vibes, you will be canceled out by the power of friendship and the positive vibes that Fraud Watch brings. So it looked shaky at the beginning. Krusty Trap managed to fix their vibe and survive the vibe check. But we'll see if other teams that might be having some internal turmoil will be the team that Fraud Watch will be able to beat.
Okay, I love that assessment. Actually, that was very well done. Venom, your thoughts on the teams?
Yeah, I'll start with Fraud Watch. That I agree with Paul. The vibes on that team are immaculate. You have I haven't talked to Donnie or Yahuzi much, but you have Baratel, Fleas, and the Slim Reaper Giuseppe Hack on that team.
The Slim Reaper.
Like
Okay.
that team's got great vibes and look at like Joe was kind of like game 2 was a little rough, but Joe was kind of rolling 7-1-7 on Kaisa, 10-4 on Zaya. Like don't sleep on Affection's ADC. Like he's put in hundreds of games over the past like 5 months. He's gone from Emerald to Gold and back up to whatever he's at now, just playing ADC. So I don't. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? Probably not. Do I think that they like? Do I think they could take a game or two off some team, like a game off a team here and there, and like Paul said for Krusty Trap, like kind of play spoiler, like give them 2 points instead of 3. Like I think they can, but they need to keep Joe as ADC and Baratel as jungle. They need, no offense, they need to stop doing the echo stuff. Baratel is a better jungler than ADC. Just point blank like that. He's just a better jungler.
Out here on the climb.
Yeah, I think I like that they have the flex, but it hasn't worked, right? And I think Joe's AD is just better than Baratel's AD. But
I don't think it's too early to give up on the flex because they just brought on the coach who's fixing their drafts. I think when they were drifting, Echo was like, "We got Echo, haha, we got you now."
Wait, when did they bring? Did I miss this in the general chat with the 900 messages that they brought on a coach?
it was their last series. Red Hots was in the chat helping them draft.
Damn.
So I'm expecting them
to
like
give me the inside scoop. That's crazy.
I think it helped their draft a ton. They had like way more draft cohesion this series than they ever have. So I'm thinking like now is their chance to actually like work in the Echo. So
well, if they have a coach, then yes, they can keep doing the flex. But I was not under the assumption that they had a coach because Red Hots, I think he coached Boise State at some point or played for Boise State.
Yeah, played for.
Yeah, so now the Krusty Trap. I think they can only go as far as Godspeed and Space Walrus can take them. I think they have. Godspeed played good game 2. Game 3 he played Galio, which we've seen World Suit play Galio and pop off on. They need their solo lanes to never die or not feed, which is very difficult seeing as how I think their next matchup is literally against it's Beaver Brigade. So their next 2 series, their top laner has to play against Dunk and then Owen. So that's going to be rough for them. Silva has been playing out of his mind, but he is not going to have a fun time when a 10-0 Gwen runs him down in the streets, and Garrett will not be able to do anything, even on Thresh.
He's going to have to channel the power of Brissy here.
Yeah.
He didn't hear no. Brissy didn't hear no bell. Jace
Yeah.
Wallace didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, and then but no, I think again, I don't want to keep agreeing with Paul, but I think they could play spoiler
You
on
can
a
Yes, you
agree
couple
do.
with
of
Paul.
You want to argue with me?
bro. Hey, if
Paul's
I would
bringing
have
up
gone
some
first, I
really
would have
good
said
points.
this. I know it. He just got to say them first, but
Skill issue.
I think they could win some
Skill
games here and
issue.
there. I'm looking at the remaining schedule. Beaver Brigade, Crayola Consumers, Gawr, the Bendables, and the Academy. That's a tough schedule, to say the
Yeah.
least. But their solo lanes are going to have a rough time. Like,
Mhm.
I think they'll probably end up ninth. Um, I think Beaver Brigade has a higher chance of figuring it out
Mhm.
in terms of keeping eighth. And I just think the schedule is kind of rough for them.
Yeah, for sure.
To be fair, there's a lot of good teams, but yeah, but their bot lanes and Silva's playing out of his mind, and I think Garrett's Thresh, second best Thresh in Summit. Like,
Oh,
it's
totally not
it,
biased.
no, but
He's
I
talking shit
only
from the
play
bench. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I only play Thresh, so I need this in my life.
Yeah,
Actually,
fair
probably
enough.
third.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Dean's Thresh is probably better than mine. Let's be real.
So, so, so Garrett's the
But,
third best. You're the second.
yeah. Well,
All
I
right.
only play Thresh. Like, he's better in the general game as well as every other champ. But I
Yeah,
need to have
but
one.
we
I need
just
to have
we just
one
don't
thing.
count him then because he's just better than everyone. Like I don't count Owen as a top laner because he's better than everyone.
He doesn't exist.
Yeah, he
He's
just
only in my
doesn't.
mind.
So, but yeah, that will wrap up week 4, and now we will head into week 5 predictions. Let's go ahead and switch over. Boom! Here are the matchups: Beaver Brigade versus the Krusty Trap, Roblins Goblins versus the Fraud Watch, Crayola Consumers versus the Bendables, Savage Mongoose Dynasty versus Elend Entourage, the Academy versus Gawr's Kindergarten Class. Starting at the top, Beaver Brigade across the board. I mean, honestly, I think for this series, I'm really just looking at solo lanes once again and like the bot difference. I think Thim and Barbecue Leona will hold the lane against Silva and Alturas. And yeah, any thoughts for your gentlemen?
I mean, I think that there's, we talked about it. There's the chance to play spoiler. It's just low. This is a team that has the solid bot lane. They'll be able to match that pressure, and then I think this will be a series that'll be hardcore defined by Dunk and Asian Jason's ability to take over the game.
Yep.
I would like to add one thing. I forgot to say
Okay.
this about Krusty Trap. I think OT Gator isn't I don't think he's playing his best, but he's also getting kind of rolled by having 2 losing solo lanes. Is why he's not performing it like he did last.
I can
We have
totally
2
agree with
losing.
that.
We have 2 losing solo lanes. It's going to be tough to literally do anything. And I think he's experiencing that. And I think Jason's going to have the time of his life this series. He's going to have 2 winning solo lanes, and he's just going to get to kind of do whatever
For sure.
on the top side.
And yeah, moving on to the next series. We'll just go quick past this one. Roblins Goblins versus Fraud Watch. Everyone pitched Roblins Goblins. That's all I'll say. Let's move on to the next one.
Pray for Giuseppe Hack.
Crayola Consumers versus the Bendables. Me and Venom went with the Bendables, and Brissy, Sunny, and Sulpan went with Crayola Consumers. So, I mean, Venom, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Bendables.
Yeah, I think. Let me see. Crayola Consumers isn't playing their best. I will say, I think this is all gonna hinge on whether their top laner, who I think is,
It's Dandy.
yeah, it's all gonna hinge on how Dandy can do against Owen. No one's expecting Dandy to pop off and solo kill Owen a bunch of times, but if he can mitigate the damage top lane, I I think Pai has an advantage mid against Charles, at least from last season on deep. The lanes went pretty close because Charles will fight you, and Pai will usually fight. Pai will oblige and fight the enemy mid laner if he says it is a fun time to play, and he will play it sometimes into that. But no, I think Bendables is playing well, and I don't have any information on if there is turmoil, but in terms of Crayola consumers, but I'm sure they're not happy that they've lost their last two series. Um, so that might play a factor, and I think Red hasn't played his best, and I think Murph is underrated as ADC. And Tubby and Murph have been playing like played well. I think they can kind of
Mhm.
I think they can win bot lane, win mid, jungle.
Yeah, for sure. And Sulpan, quick thoughts on your pick.
Yeah, sure. I think if both these teams walk in without really thinking about the series, I think give it to Crayola consumers. I think this is stylistically the Bendables' hardest matchup in Summit. It's gonna be really hard for them to deal with Owen. So, and again, I think I talked about it earlier as well. But my hot daddy's like just playing these crazy like move fast and engage champs, and the team will just follow that up. So it'll be really hard for I think anyone on this team to side lane, and that's what they want to do. So they'll be very very careful as they enter this series. It's winnable for the Bendables, but I gave a slight edge to Crayola consumers just because I think stylistically like they match up very well against the Bendables.
Fair enough. Now this next series I think is I would say SMD have somewhat of a chance to beat Elend's Entourage. However, I still think it's Elend's Entourage favored. Everyone went with Elend's Entourage. No argue with anyone there. Not a surprise.
I think there's gonna be a draft prep difference. No offense to SMD, but Paul's spreadsheet's about to come out in full force.
after taking the loss versus Rob, he's coming back with the full spreadsheet now.
Paul already has that draft prep. I already know it.
Yeah, he's already.
But I know he has the draft prep for this.
Yeah, you guys. He's actually been working on it during the podcast, so.
Yeah, it's on my third monitor below my desk.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to the last series, the Academy versus Gawr's kindergarten class. Not a surprise, the two players who are on the Academy picked the Academy, but Brissy, Venom, and Sulpan went with Gawr's kindergarten class. We'll see. We'll see how the matchup goes.
This is the most biased prediction possible. We got three out of the five predictors are on these teams. So I'm gonna discount completely what you, Brissy, and Sunny have to say. Patrick, you and I,
good
we
opinion.
agree. And so this is looking like a pretty easy stomp for GKC.
Whoa.
Sorry.
GKC never saw is about to pull out that rusty saw vibe, and she's gonna just destroy your mid laner.
Don't play on Sunday. It's coming.
It's Hey, Brissy's about to lay a smackdown on Sunny Blues. It's not close.
I told Sunny, hey man, let me play top lane. It's Brissy, man. I gotta play.
You want to get soloed again by Brissy?
No, I'm coming back. I'm coming back for the crown, baby. I'm coming back.
Brissy's gonna have that hammer, that Orn hammer, and hit you.
See, no, I'm gonna have the Orn hammer.
Don't come to top tomorrow. That's all I'm saying.
But yes,
no, I think it'll be a good series. But I think Gawr's team's gonna have it for reasons.
But yeah, that will wrap up the climb this week. Thank you, Venom and Sulpan, for coming on this week. And yeah, I think that is it for us this week on the climb. I appreciate everyone for tuning in this episode. And we will catch you all on the summit.